Hi there guys, this is Ryan and I'm back with another Delve video. This one is going to be my first official devlog video. I've got some footage I have prepared here of me doing some artwork for a new enemy, so let's get into it. The concept for this enemy was kind of a trunk or tree awakened stump kind of thing. So you can see he's got like various different types of moss and vines all over like a bark kind of body, and then he's got kind of a stump head on top with eyes that are in shadow and kind of glowing a little bit. For this walking animation here that I'm working on, I wanted to try and get kind of a slow lifting of the leg and then almost like a drop, you know, like a thud, so that it gives this character a little bit of weight and makes him seem more, I don't know, more real, you know, like he's got more mass to him. Because in my mind, at least, I see like plant and tree creatures as moving a little bit slower, especially if he's made out of, you know, tree material. I already had the idle animation done here, so I'm just working on this walk cycle, and I have like a little bit of a smear, animation smear going on when the foot goes down to kind of accentuate that motion. And then usually what I'll do is after I get the legs figured out for one of these walking animations, I will start to work on the secondary movement in the torso, arms, and head if need be, and anything else that might bounce as he's moving. As you can see here, I'm using Sprite, which is a nice program for animation. It's also really just good for sprite sheets. So it gives you a lot of layers, and you obviously have this timeline so you can work out your keyframes and stuff like that. But it also lets you export whatever you're working on in a GIF format, so you can post it and, you know, have people look at it. But it also allows you to export organized sprite sheets that are placed in rows and columns and organized so that they're easily accessible to import into other programs. So after I got the walking cycle where I wanted it, I kind of had to move into his attack animation. So I had to figure out what kind of poses I wanted him to be in. For attack animations, I kind of try to focus on two main poses. They're not usually as complicated as walking cycles, so I don't have to figure out, you know, this massive variety of poses. It's usually just an anticipation and then the actual, you know, attack, the swing or the push or whatever type of movement is happening. In this case, he's kind of raising up these two trunk-like arms and swinging them down simultaneously to smash into the player. I like this animation. I think it's got enough heft to it. I did have to mess around with the squat a little bit to make sure it looked just how I wanted it. I wanted to make sure that he felt planted still. And then, of course, after the attack animation, I moved on to the death animation. A lot of these enemies are so simple that you usually just need an idle, a run, an attack, and a death animation. When I have enemies with sort of ranged attacks or bosses or more complicated AI, obviously I'll be adding more animations. The idea for this death animation was basically to have him almost dissolve, almost like he'd been eaten by termites or something. So he kind of dissolves away, and you'll see I'm working on like the head falling down and kind of plopping onto the ground. And that's a nice secondary motion that gives the animation a little bit more character and makes it a little bit more funny. And then here we can see this tree man implemented in the final game. He only takes a few attacks to kill, and you can easily dodge out of the way of his attack, but I think he works for a very early game enemy and fits in perfectly with the theme of the first floor, or the first zone, excuse me, which is the overgrowth. And that's been it for this kind of behind the scenes animation look at how I take care of stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back soon with more.